You ever hear about the tunnels under Las Vegas? Not the tourist stuff, not the big casinos or the strip. I'm talking about the storm drains, the real ones, the ones that snake beneath the city like a hidden skeleton. Hundreds of miles of them. People live down there. Whole communities. Forgotten, ignored, surviving in total darkness. I didn't believe it either, not until my brother disappeared down there. This isn't one of those friend of a friend type stories. This is what actually happened to me. And if you're the type who goes looking for answers where they don't belong, maybe this will be a warning. Some things aren't meant to be found, especially not under Las Vegas. It started last summer. Was fresh out of college, broke, and crashing with my older brother Travis. He'd been living in Vegas for a few years working freelance photography, mostly shady nightclub gigs and modeling shoots that were one step away from OnlyFans. He lived in a crappy studio near Fremont Street, the kind of place where the elevators smelled like piss and half the lights flickered nonstop. But he was always chasing something, some story, something raw and real. He said if he could just find something dark enough, twisted enough, he'd blow up online. That's all he ever wanted. One viral break. He found it, but he never came back. We were on the balcony one night, sharing cheap whiskey and watching drunk tourists stumble around below, when he told me about the tunnels. You know there's like 600 miles of storm drains under this city? He said. People live down there like actual tent cities. No cops, no rules, just dark. I laughed. You want to do a documentary about mole people now? But Travis wasn't joking. He pulled out his phone and showed me grainy photos, makeshift beds, graffiti-covered walls, candles arranged in weird symbols. One video showed a woman screaming at the camera, half naked, her face smeared in something dark. Where'd you get these? I went in last week, only like 100 yards in. But there's something down there, man, not just people. I heard something, like humming, kids humming. That shut me up. You're not going back, I told him. You don't know who's down there. He smiled like he always did when he was about to ignore me. That's the point. 3 days later, Travis was gone. He didn't come home, didn't respond to texts, didn't show up for a paid shoot he'd been excited about. I waited 24 hours, then filed a report. The cops didn't care. Adults disappear all the time in Vegas, they said. He probably just took off. But I knew my brother, and I knew where he'd gone. I waited until night, grabbed his GoPro, flashlight, and a pack of batteries, and went looking for the entrance he'd marked in his notes. A fenced-off concrete ditch behind a closed pawn shop near Charleston Boulevard. The gate was already cut open. Something felt wrong the second I stepped into that tunnel. The air changed. Cooler, wet, like stepping into a lung that had forgotten how to breathe. I turned on the flashlight and walked. 10 steps in, the city noise vanished behind me. 15 steps, and I couldn't see the opening anymore. I found Travis's gear about 300 yards in. A backpack, torn open. A smashed lens, and something else. His phone, still recording. We didn't sleep that night. After the kid vanished, none of us wanted to say it, but we were thinking the same thing. Something was down there. Something that knew we were there too. Talia kept pacing the room. She was shaking, her voice trembling as she repeated, "We need to call someone. We need to call the cops." That was a child, but Leo was panicking for a different reason. If we call the cops, they'll ask what we're doing down there. They'll check for permits, trespassing, hell, they might even charge us with kidnapping. We don't have any proof that kid was ever real. I wanted to argue, but part of me knew he was right. We had no photo, no video, no evidence. All we had was a memory burned into our minds of a kid covered in dirt and scars, with those hollow eyes that had seen too much darkness. Instead of sleep, we passed the time scouring every online forum, Reddit thread, and forgotten corner of the internet for any mention of tunnel sightings, missing kids, or urban legends tied to the Vegas storm drains. And that's when we found it. An archived Reddit post from nearly a decade ago, posted by someone with a now deleted username. It had barely any upvotes, and it looked like it had been flagged multiple times. The title read, "They live in the flood tunnels, and they're not homeless." The post was rambling, borderline incoherent, but it described something eerily similar to what we'd seen. A kid, dirty, barefoot, appearing from the shadows, silent, watching, then vanishing deeper into the concrete maze. The post claimed the tunnels under Vegas weren't just filled with vagrants and lost addicts. They were a breeding ground, a hive of something much older and much more sinister. One part stuck with me. Don't shine your light too long. They hate that. The ones born down there, feral, blind from birth, raised in nothing but dark and concrete. They remember faces, especially the ones who try to leave. I looked at Leo. We need to go back. He didn't answer right away, just stared at the screen. Eventually, he said, "Yeah, but we go prepared, and we don't go at night." We waited until early afternoon the next day. This time we brought heavy-duty flashlights, backup batteries, radios, knives, hell, even a small crowbar. Talia was dead silent as we walked the edge of the storm drain entrance. Her lips were pressed into a tight line. I knew she didn't want to be there. None of us did. The tunnel looked the same in daylight, but something about it felt different, colder, still, like the whole city was holding its breath. We stepped inside, flashlights on. The beam carved slices through the dark. Our boots echoed against the damp concrete. Every few steps we'd stop and listen, for footsteps, for breathing, for anything. And then we heard it again, that dragging sound. This time, it wasn't faint. It was close, too close. Leo motioned for us to cut our lights, but it was too late. Around the bend, something darted just outside the range of our beam. A pale blur, bare feet slapping against wet concrete. Talia gasped. "It's them! It's the kid again." But it wasn't. We turned the corner slowly, and that's when we saw them. 3 of them. Children, or what used to be children. Their skin was so pale it was almost translucent, like wax stretched over bone. Their hair was matted and patchy, eyes reflecting the light like glass marbles. They didn't move like kids. They moved like predators. Low, quiet, shoulders hunched unnaturally forward. They watched us in total silence. I stepped back. "We need to go. Now," Leo whispered. "No sudden moves. Too late." One of them shrieked. This guttural, animalistic noise that echoed down the tunnels like a war cry. And all at once they charged. We ran. I don't remember how far we ran. It felt like miles. The tunnels were a labyrinth, twisting and branching. Every turn looked the same. The children didn't chase us constantly, but every few minutes we'd hear them again, scuttling, laughing, whispering, yes, whispering. I swear I heard my name more than once, whispered from the shadows like it was being pulled through sand. Eventually, we burst into a section we hadn't seen before. It was older, crumbling. The air reeked of rot and mold. Talia shined her light on the wall and screamed. There were carvings etched into the concrete, symbols, dozens of them, circles inside of circles, primitive stick figures, pictographs of people with wide mouths and long fingers reaching upward. "Is this some kind of cult stuff?" Leo muttered. Before I could answer, we heard it again. Not the kids. Something else. Heavy, a slow, dragging breath, like lungs that hadn't tasted fresh air in decades. Talia backed up, flashlight shaking. "What the hell is that?" Then the lights flickered. We lost Talia first. One moment she was there and the next, gone, taken. Her scream echoed through the concrete maze like it was swallowed. Leo and I spun in place, screaming her name, lights flailing across the walls. All we found was her flashlight, flickering on the ground. I picked it up. It was smeared with blood. Leo looked at me, his face pale. "We're not alone. That thing, it's hunting us." I nodded, unable to speak. We ran again. Only this time, it wasn't just fear driving us. It was survival. Eventually, we stumbled into what looked like an old maintenance room. Metal door half rusted off its hinges. Inside were broken lockers, a crumbling cot, empty cans, and bones. Dozens of bones. Some small, too small. In the far corner was a journal, mold-covered and water-stained. I opened it carefully. It belonged to a city worker, dated 1987. The last few entries were scrawled in panic. "They're not human. Not anymore. Born in dark. Raised in dark. They know every inch of this place. I tried sealing the lower levels. Failed. If you find this, it's too late. They're awake now." I dropped the book. My hands were shaking. Leo pointed to a rusted map on the wall. "Look, there's an access ladder. If we cut through this side tunnel, we can reach it. It might go all the way to the surface." We didn't wait. That last stretch was the worst. The children followed us, but not like before. Now they were playing with us, letting us hear them, letting us think we had a chance. Whispers, laughter, footsteps, sometimes just inches behind us. Once I looked back and saw one crawling upside down on the tunnel ceiling, eyes locked on mine. Leo and I screamed. All the way to the ladder, we didn't climb, we scrambled, hands bleeding, arms shaking, and as we reached the top and shoved open the grate, daylight hit our faces like salvation. We collapsed on the asphalt, gasping, crying, alive, but we weren't alone, because down below, before we sealed the grate shut, I heard a voice. Small, quiet, like a child whispering through a drain. "We'll be waiting." The silence in the tunnels felt different now, heavier, like the air itself had thickened. Every footstep we took echoed far too loudly, bouncing off the walls and vanishing into nothing. Elena gripped my sleeve, whispering, "I don't think we should go any deeper." But her voice was already fading under the overwhelming feeling that something was watching us. We had just crossed into what looked like an older section of the tunnels. The concrete gave way to jagged rock, and the faint markings on the walls transitioned from graffiti to something else. Carvings, primitive symbols, scratched violently into the stone. At first glance, they looked like random lines, but the more we stared, the more deliberate they seemed. Circles, eyes, teeth. "These aren't tags," Matt muttered, running his flashlight across the wall. "They're warnings." I wanted to believe he was being dramatic, but deep down, I knew he was right. A sudden metallic crash echoed from behind us. We all spun around, flashlights jerking wildly. There was nothing there, just empty tunnel. Then the smell hit, like rotting meat left, out in the sun. Elena gagged. Matt stepped in front of us, holding his flashlight like a weapon. And then we heard it, a voice, faint, garbled, like a child whispering underwater. "Go back." We didn't wait to debate it. We ran, full on sprinted through the narrow, winding path that twisted into deeper black. It made no sense. We should have turned around, but panic does strange things. All we knew was forward. Eventually, the tunnel opened into what looked like an underground room. It had concrete support beams and rusted-out pipes lining the ceiling, but it was huge, like an unfinished storage hall. Scattered debris, broken pallets, and crumpled tarps littered the floor. But what caught our attention was the structure in the center, a small wooden shack, completely out of place, nailed-together boards, a makeshift door. Not even a real building, but someone had built it here, hidden from the world. Matt was the first to approach. "It's like a playhouse," he said, shining his light through the gaps in the boards. There was movement inside. He froze. We all did. Then a small hand pushed through the door crack, gray-skinned, thin, and wrong. The fingers twitched unnaturally, like they didn't know how to move. Matt stumbled back, whispering, "No, no, no, no." The door creaked open slowly, and they stepped out. Children, but not. Their faces were stretched, pale and vacant. Their eyes were sunken, black pits that didn't reflect light. Their mouths hung slightly open like they had forgotten how to close them. And their movements, stiff, jerky, as if someone had wound them up and let them go. Elena screamed. The children stared, silent. 5 of them, maybe 6. It was hard to tell in the flickering light. They began to walk toward us. I grabbed Elena's hand. "Run!" We turned, bolting back into the tunnel, but the echo of our footsteps was now joined by others, smaller, faster, from behind. They didn't shout or scream or even breathe, just the slap of bare feet on concrete, gaining, as we turned corners and pushed through broken barriers. One of them appeared ahead, blocking the tunnel. Its head twitched sideways like a broken animatronic. We skidded to a stop. Matt grabbed a pipe from the floor and swung it at the thing's head. The child collapsed, unmoving, but another emerged behind it. We turned back the way we came, panting, slipping through a narrow gap in a caved-in section of the wall. It was tight, but we squeezed through, until Matt got stuck. We tried to pull him, but something grabbed his leg. Matt screamed. We pulled harder, Elena crying now as his flashlight flickered and fell. Then we yanked him through, whatever had him let go at the last second. We didn't wait to find out why. We kept running until we saw the faintest sliver of daylight, the original tunnel entrance. That was hours ago, but it felt like another lifetime. When we finally burst back into the desert, gasping, covered in dirt and sweat, we collapsed beside the Jeep. None of us spoke for a long time. Matt had deep scratches on his leg, not from metal, from fingernails. We drove in silence for hours, not stopping until we hit a gas station in Henderson. Elena begged us never to talk about it again. But here's the thing. Matt kept the flashlight that fell when they grabbed him, and when he checked the footage, it had been recording the whole time. That's how we know this wasn't just fear or hallucination, because in the last few seconds of the video, just before the light dies, you can see their eyes, and they're smiling. We stumbled through the dark, half dragging Emma behind us, as the echoes of our own panicked breathing bounced off the curved tunnel walls. Every turn felt like déjà vu, as if the labyrinth was folding in on itself. Each corridor we took looked just like the last. Grimy walls, graffiti half erased by time, bones of old mattresses and rusted-out shopping carts scattered like the ruins of a forgotten kingdom. There were no signs of daylight, No drips of surface water. Nothing but the stench of mildew, old rot, and something else. Something metallic and faintly sweet, like blood left too long in the heat. I looked over my shoulder more times than I could count, expecting to see those pale eyes blinking from the dark, or the shadowy outline of one of them crawling on the ceiling like some starved animal. But we were alone, at least for the moment. "We're lost," Emma whispered, her voice cracking. "We're not getting out of here." "No," I said firmly, grabbing her wrist tighter. "We are. We just have to keep moving. They know, these tunnels, but they're not invincible." The truth was, I didn't believe my own words anymore. It felt like we had wandered into a place that didn't want us to leave, a place that had reshaped itself to trap us. Then we heard it, a hum, faint. At first like a generator running miles away, then a rhythmic clicking, like wet fingernails tapping metal. It was coming from up ahead this time. I stopped. So did Emma and Jason. Jason raised the flashlight again, but the beam flickered, dimmed, and died completely. Then, the hum grew louder. It wasn't a generator. It was voices, children's voices, soft, chanting, repeating the same line over and over again in a whispering chorus. "Come down where it's safe. Come down where it's warm. Come down where we sleep. Come down and be reborn." Jason cursed under his breath. "We're going back. Right now." "No." Emma yanked herself free and pointed to a metal ladder embedded into the wall just ahead, almost hidden behind a broken drain pipe. "There. We climb." The tunnel vibrated. Dust fell from the ceiling. A whisper hissed through the air. "You should have left when you had the chance." Jason went first. Emma second. I climbed last, not daring to look down. As my foot hit the second rung, something brushed against my shoe. Cold, damp, fingers. I screamed and launched myself up the ladder like a man possessed. At the top was a rusted circular hatch. Jason pushed and pushed, but it didn't budge. "Try harder," Emma screamed. They were below us now. I heard them crawling, skittering, up the walls. The whispering had stopped. Now it was only breath and growling. With a final grunt, Jason slammed his shoulder into the hatch. It popped open. Daylight spilled in. We scrambled out onto cracked concrete, some long-abandoned service lot just behind a shuttered strip mall. I slammed the hatch shut and rolled a massive rock over it. For a second, none of us moved, and Jason threw up. Emma collapsed, sobbing. I just stared at the ground. We had made it out, barely. Called the police. Didn't believe us. No surprise. They investigated. The pin I had dropped on my phone but found nothing. No children, no sounds, no bones. The tunnels were real, but the cops wrote them off as just a homeless encampment that had since moved on. One officer gave me a stern lecture about making false reports. Emma doesn't talk about it. Not at all. She dropped out of UNLV a few weeks later and moved back to Oregon. Jason? He changed. Got quiet. Paranoid. He doesn't go anywhere without a flashlight now. As for me, I stayed. I had to, because I couldn't stop thinking about the chant. Come down where it's safe. Come down where it's warm. Come down where we sleep. Come down and be reborn. One night I went back, just to see if the hatch was still there. It wasn't. It was gone, like it had never existed. Concrete was smooth, freshly poured. No cracks, no marks, no entry, as if the tunnel children had buried it themselves. Sometimes, late at night, when the city lights fade and the strip goes quiet, I still hear something in the distance. A hum, a whisper, and children's voices calling from beneath the desert floor. They're still down there, and they're waiting.